Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we are going to work on the free motion foot. In this set of feet now, it is also known as the darning foot. Let me show you a picture of it right here. And in case you do not know what darning is, that is taking care of a small little rip or something. We used to be doing it on a little sort of a plastic Easter egg, and we used to do it by hand like the socks. For all those younger people that don't know about it. But you can do, for example, let's say you had a teeny weeny little tear in your blue jeans or your pants or something, and it's not really noticeable as to where it's at, like down at the bottom of the ankle area. You could stitch that up with this little needle also, because it's free motion, so you're doing it yourself. So what you first want to do is you want to make a sandwich to do free motion. I did that here, so I have white fabric, and then I have my batting, and then another fabric on top. I'm using embroidery thread. Now remember, you always need a practice piece. So here I have the same thing in a little bit smaller just for my practice. And then I'm going to show you that when I put this foot on here, now keep in mind that everybody's machine is different, so the foot's going to go on differently, but I'm going to show you that I'm going to do an adjustment because I want my needle to go in the middle of the little circle. And you'll see it when I show it to you here, what it looks like when I first put it on, because my setting is different than a lot of the machines out there. So let's take a look at that real quick. Here's what the foot looks like that we're going to be using. That comes in the kit. And I am using embroidery thread for this project. There we go. I used it in the bobbin as well as the top. I really like this. Now this is the setup for my machine itself. So the first thing you see is this here is what I click on, which drops my feed dogs automatically. This is the width. Now this is where the needle is determined on your sewing machine. So when I go over here, let's see if I can get close. You can see that the needle is over here on the right hand side. Alrighty, I like to see it in the middle. Not that it won't make it, because when I go down it does make it, but that kind of scares me a little bit that it's on the right hand side there. So what I want to do is move it over. Now on my machine, and it may be the same way as on your machine, is that I would take my width right here and I'm going to decrease it. As I decrease it, my needle goes to the left. So let's go back over here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, and you'll be able to see it. I'm going to try to hold it as steady as I can. So every time I move it, see how my needle is automatically going to the left? So if I put it at 1.0, it's right there in the middle. And that's the way I want it. And that's what you got to be looking at, because if you put this foot on and all of a sudden your needle is going to hit the side of it, like right here, you don't want that. Okay, so you're going to want to move your needle over, either to the left or the right, whatever your machine requires. Now, this little thing here normally hangs over the top of, this is where I tighten and loosen my needle up, okay, and it goes over the top of it. And then on this one, it's not a lot of room, but you take your screw off on the side of your machine and slip this on the screw and then tighten it. Now I find that I have a older machine that at one time my screw was so close to this that I had difficulty unscrewing it. Okay, that's the only thing I did have. So I went and I got another, well, it's actually not a screw, it's a bolt. But I went ahead and I got a bolt that was longer, which you can use because these are your sewing machines. I went ahead and put my bolt in my case, you know, with everything else, and then I took the longer bolt, which actually had a bigger head on it. Okay, this one's got a pretty good size head for my screwdriver. But anyway, I went ahead and took it out so that my bolt actually stuck out this far from the machine. So instead of being right here, let me get a different pointer here so I can show you. So instead of it sticking out right there, okay, that's the way it sticks right there. It actually came out that far. Now, that doesn't interfere with anything. It's not going to interfere with any kind of my sewing or anything. And so I went ahead and used it because it was a lot easier to screw and unscrew in order to change all my feet out. And keep in mind that you guys can do that too with your sewing machines. If you're worried that you might be selling your machine at one time, just hold on to the bolt, okay? And then you'll have it when you get ready to change out your to sell your machine. But you can also keep the new bolt that you've been using and go ahead and explain it to the person that you're giving a machine to, in case maybe their hands are too big. I mean, not that their hands are too big, but maybe they've got arthritis in their fingers or something and they can't reach that. That's just a little bit of tidbit there. So let's go ahead and we're going to test out our sample first, because all we're trying to do is make sure that our tension is correct and that we get a nice flow before we start on our project. Alrighty, so what I did not mention was when I used this foot that I put on there, this is what normally holds my foot. The foot would slip up into here. I had to take this off to use this foot. Alrighty. And I will tell you, number 14, and I believe that is number foot 14. Yes, that's the foot. 18, 20, and 23. Every time you use it, you got to take this off your machine. Okay, that's the part that I took off in order to use the foot. Okay, and if you're interested in me showing you how to put that foot on from the very beginning, leave a comment, and then when I go to do the next foot, I will show you on this. I will show you how to take it off and on, okay? Alrighty, now remember, this is our little sample. So normally when you do this, if you want to use a slider, you can put one down over the top of your table. I don't need a slider. As a matter of fact, I don't find them comfortable at all to use. But I do use gloves. Let me show you what I use. And I got these from the Crafty Gemini. This is one of the gloves. I do not like the gloves that cover your entire hands because my fingers always get hot. The first thing you do is grab your top thread. Put your foot down. Then you want to take your needle and you want to go down, and your objective is to bring the bobbin thread up. So I will take my needle down and up one time. When it comes up, I pull on my top thread. Then I see it. You can move this a little bit. And I use my grippers to grip it, to grab it, so that I've got both my top and my bottom now, and they're underneath the foot. And then I'm going to put my needle right back into the exact same spot that it came out of. Now I start out with my tension on number 4. And as you can tell, I'm going to show you here, that there's a little, even though this foot is down, look how it's flexible here. Okay, it's all the way down, but it's flexible. Here it's up, there it's down. The reason for that is the thickness of your fabric. If you had a little bit of more thickness to go over the top, you want the flexibility of this to go over it smoothly without hitting a bump, okay, like a ridge. And then all we do, and hopefully I don't have my hands in the way. Let me see if my hand's going to be in the way. I'm going to hold it out as far as this so you guys can see. And all you do is slowly go in the same spot. You're locking it into place. Normally, I wouldn't lock it into place in the middle of my fabric. I'd go off to the side, but I can go ahead and lock it here in the middle of my fabric just to show you for purposes. And then what you want to do is you want to keep the same kind of motion going on so that your stitches stay the same. So go like this. Now we're going to take it off and we're going to look at it. We're going to flip it over and I'm going to show you the back of it because this is what you're looking for. Notice that when I first started out, they're real small on the left. They got a little bit bigger as they go along. And then when you flip it over, what you want is you want your stitches to be nice and even like this. Okay, you don't want the bobbin thread to be pulling out or anything. If for some reason it's not even, then you want to take your tension and you want to increase it. And if it doesn't work, then you want to decrease it. So it's going to be depending on how your sandwich is made, the thickness of it and all that, because every machine is different. And every time you start a new project, that's going to be different. So let's do a little bit on the regular one now that our practice looks pretty good. Now you want to keep in mind that the larger your piece of fabric is that you're working with, the lot easier this is to do, believe it or not. Because here I got to grab the corner of it, which I'm blocking my hands, to pull it out. Now we're going to do, this is a large meandering, I'm going to do a little small one here. I'll show you how you can change that. I'm not trying to cross over any of my lines whatsoever. This is one of the easiest things to learn when you do meandering. It just takes a little bit of practice. This is just a little practice sheet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to practice with some circles. All you're trying to do is make the circles the same. You're going to have to go back and forth. I'm going to show you here in a minute. Let's take a look at what we got here. Just taking a glance at the circles while I've still got it in the machine. Here's the large meandering right here. And then we went to the smaller meandering. And then we have the circles. And I find that it's a lot easier for me not to draw a picture. Try to picture it in my mind and then put it down. But you can draw it. Or if you want, you could have it on the the water-soluble paper, and you could draw it on top of that, lay that on top of this. You could actually pin it on there, go ahead and outline it with the sewing machine, the needle, and then when you're done, you can always just tear it off or dampen it to get it off. So let's see if we can make a star off to the side here. Okay, let's see how we're going to do this. A little bit of wiggle room in here, but makes me think of a starfish. Let's take a look real quick. There's our little bit of a starfish there. And I'm going to show you something that's really nice that I do on a lot of my quilting. Gives a real nice rhythm. Okay, so I'm going to get myself out into this little area right here. I'm going to show you here. And normally I go a lot faster, but I'm just going slow here for the camera. Now let's go over here a minute. Now notice when I go this direction, what I'm doing is I'm actually watching my foot and putting it on the left of the line that I just stitched. So it makes really good for the even the evenness of you stitching. So the distance is the same. Okay, let's go over here. I'm going to make another design. Alrighty, let me show you what I've gotten. Alrighty, so I have a circle right there. Then as you come down, you see that I have a square. And I just went from the inside out. There's our little star. And then from there, I came over here and I made a heart, which you can see right there. Then this is a short little balloon right here. And then here I made, which makes me think of your radiator as it goes back and forth. But all these are pretty neat little fillers for when you're doing a border on the side of a quilt. Whenever you want to fill in something and you don't quite know what to do, that's what you can do along the borders. Now keep in mind that as you go close like this, okay, when you're making a quilt or a table topper or whatever, this is really good stuff for table toppers and such, because you can actually put something on top of the table on this. You won't have to worry about it falling over. When it comes to wanting to do quilting, this kind of a quilt that is done with this tightly woven will not be as warm as one that is more separate like this. Okay? And you'll learn that as you go along. And I hope you liked it. If you did, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time for the next foot. Thank you everybody for watching. Bye-bye. And I forgot to show you the back of it. I am really sorry about that. Here's the back. To give you an idea what it looks like. This is what your back should look like. You're going to practice until you get it like this. This is playing with your tension.